Hi, my name is 𝒞𝒂𝓁. I'm the inspection director here with the city of Mebane, and today we are out on site to do a final inspection on a residential home.
And my name is Rebecca Knight, and I'm the code enforcement officer.
So let's get started. So we're going to start our building final today, and we're going to start at 7025. That's the address that was called in for a final inspection. So we'll start since I'm at this location with the stairs, let's check them, make sure they are the proper step, the height and width requirement. First step is about 5 1/4, but always remember the first step from off the sidewalk to the first step can be a little bit off. So from the other step, from this step to that step will need to be no more than 3/8 of an inch. So let's see. So we got 5 1/4 and 6 1/8. So we're about over 3/4 inch too high from this step, from these two steps. That's a potential trip hazard. So now what we'll do is we'll write that up and send it to the contractor for them to fix it. Next item is we'll check and make sure this drop over here is not more than 30 inches. As you can tell, it's about 19 inches. So this is fine. Anything over 30 inches will require guardrails on it. Here we have some basically artificial rock that is kind of stuccoed to the house itself. And if you look on any type of artificial rock, you will see there's a drip line right here, edge right here. That's because if water should get behind here, that little drip edge will let the water to the outside so it won't stay behind the rock and deteriorate the building materials. So now we're on the side of the house here, and we're looking at a couple items. We're making sure all our penetrations are sealed so water cannot get behind, or insects or any kind of bugs can get behind your side. And we're also looking here at our insulation for our foundation, which is right here. And this is waterproofing, damp-proofing. And what this is for is the outside of this grade is higher than the garage slab. That way it keeps water from going inside to the garage and damaging the building materials. And the insulation is technically doesn't have to be here in the garage, but because it's not a habitable space on the other side, but we still check to make sure it's all together and it's been treated. So one of the biggest issues we look at around the house is the drainage away from the home, because you don't want water running towards the home or standing that can go in the home or underneath the home and undermine the footings or get in the house and do damage to building materials. So as you can see, you got slope away. Code is 6 and 10, or get the proper, if you don't have the 10 foot to the property line, you try to get as much as you can slope wise away from the house. And another item is the concrete slab next to the home. You want it to slope at least 2% away from the house so the water can drain away from the foundation of the home and come out and drain away from the house to the proper storm drainages. Now heading into the garage, we're going to look at several items here. So we're going to start here. This is our slab insulation for the home. As you can tell, it's here and it's here. But if you get a closer look here, when they built their landing, they had cut the slab insulation out. So that slab insulation should be behind here to keep air from moving in underneath the slab. So we'll get the contractor to fix that also. So in the garage, our penetrations that goes from the garage into the house has to be fire rated. Everything in the garage has to maintain at least a 20-minute rate. The ceiling, if it's a room above it, the wall next to the house, and the wall next to the house. So as you can tell, our penetrations with our with our plumbing lines have been fire caught. And you can see it down here also. So all penetrations from the garage into the home will need to be fire stopped. One of the new code changes several years ago was that you had to post what we call energy efficient certificate in the home. It can be here in the panel box, in the attic, or in the underneath the kitchen cabinet. What this tells you is who built the home, who signed the home, who signed as far as all the documentation here was correct. It tells you the ceiling floor insulation, it tells you the wall insulation, it tells you the floor insulation, it tells you the slab insulation, and then it tells you your U factor and solar heat gain on the windows. Also, they do what we call a duct leakage test, and they have to meet a certain requirement. And as you can tell, it's 4.2, which is less than the requirement. And also it tells us our insulation, which is R8, which is on our ductwork, and that's what's in the home, R8. And then we have the duct test, and the duct test is 2.5, which is meets code. Here inside the home, we're on the first floor now, and we're at the steps. They have their handrail, guardrail up here. One of the things we check for here is to make sure the pickets are no more than 4 inches apart. If they are more than 4 inches apart, it could be a hazard to a kid or, animal, small head, but mostly kids. So we take our fist, we put it like this, and as you can tell, they're all less than 4, they all are less than 4 inches. We shake, make sure it can handle the proper weight distribution, which it does. And also, we'll take some quick measurements here. 7.5. 7.5, so it's a perfect right here. As we go up, we'll check further up. Also, we'll check and make sure the doors has weather stripping on it. And as you can tell, it does. We're here on the second floor in the master bedroom. In all the bedrooms in a home, you have to have a smoke detector inside the bedrooms. And outside the bedrooms, you have to have a smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. So you have to have them inside every bedroom, outside the bedroom, and one on the first floor. And also, we're gonna talk about egress out of the bedroom just in case of a fire. So we come here, you have an emergency, you can't get out your door. We check our windows here to make sure they can lift up easily. Find a key so the fire department can get you out of the house easily. And you can tell they close and lock fine. Now we're inside the master bathroom, I'm sorry. So one of the things we're gonna look at here is the shower glass door. In this shower glass door, it has to be tempered. So that way, when it breaks, it doesn't shatter. So what we do is we take our flashlight and we start looking for the etching. So you look, and there you go. There's the ANSI number here for the tempered glass on this side. And there it is for this side. Now we're heading into the attic. So in this attic, there's no equipment up here. It's just insulation and storage. But they have an access hole. So one thing when you have an access hole, you have to have weather stripping, as you can see here, and insulation on the back, which is back here. And that way it prevents air leakage from the attic into the house, and also keeps you cooling and heating sufficient from going in, you know, from the attic into the attic and stuff, with the insulation on the back of the access hole.
We are out here at Bowman Place, and they are doing a final inspection. So after I do my zoning rough and they framed and put all their siding up, I do the final inspection before the CO is issued. So basically for this final, I'm going to check the front and side setbacks, also the grading, the drainage, and the sod or straws put down, and then also the windows are in place and also the siding. So let's go. All right, so first we start at the front of the house. So this front side setback is 22.6 feet. So I'm going to measure from the front of the garage to the edge of the property line and make sure that matches that 22.6. So after you verify the front setback, I just make sure that the front elevation matches so that the windows are installed, the siding is correct, and that also the shutters are installed. So on this house, he has all of his shutters installed, his garage doors installed, and all of his siding is installed correctly. Also make sure that he has straw or sod down, which on these homes he puts down sod. The drainage should be directed away towards the house, in this case it is. And it also has a sidewalk. So our engineer, Ryan King, comes out and verifies this driveway and the sidewalk, and everything checks out on this house. So after I verify the front, I'm going to go ahead and move on to each side. All right, so once we finish the front, I'm going to move on to the left side of the home. So basically the same thing, just making sure all the windows are in place, no holes in the siding or anything like that. You also want to check the drainage on the sides as well. And in this case, there's another home on the right side. So there is proper drainage between those two homes. That's one of my major concerns, is before I issue a CO, I want to make sure drainage for both tenants, it's going to be proper. I also check the gutter extensions, and our building department also checks those as well. So just a double check. And this house looks good. All of his windows are installed and his siding looks good. So we're going to move on to the rear. All right, so now we're on the rear of the home. In this case, this home has a 28 by 12 patio, which looks correct. And it also has a screened-in porch. So whenever I come out and it has a screened-in porch, I just verify that there's no holes in the screen, everything is correct. And again, same thing, windows are in place, and there's no holes in the siding, anything like that. In this case, in the rear of the home, they have their mail kiosk. So I just make sure, again, drainage is away from the home, sidewalk is poured up to the kiosk, and everything looks good. Once I'm done with that, we're going to move on to the last side of the home. All right, so we're on the last side of this home. Before I am going to issue this final CO, I again just double check windows are installed, siding and drainage is away from the home. In this case, the siding goes all the way from the left-hand side all the way down to the mail kiosk. I work very closely with our engineering department to make sure that everything is up to code with them before I pass this final CO. Everything on this house is good to go, so I'm going to pass my final inspection and this homeowner can go ahead and move in. Thank you for joining us today on this final inspection. I'm glad that you got to see an insight on how the Mebane Inspections Department keeps the town safe and positively charming. See you again next time.